That's right. Recording is in progress. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'm the lead for today's meeting. Our normal lead, Clint, could not be here today.
We will look to his coming
Yes,
on the light of the third day.
that's right.
No.
That's right.
Alex, one more time with feeling. Be excited.
I am
You're hosting
excited.
today.
I'm hosting. It's not a normal thing, but I'm doing it today. So what did you guys do this week? I'll go last because I feel like I didn't do anything.
I thought you were going to be like, what did you do this week? I'm going first.
No.
This will be a great follow-up to if we did stuff and you just say I didn't do anything.
That's right. What? Yeah, I need you guys to fill the void.
I didn't do any. I came unprepared for this. I have played Ghost of Tsushima. I can't even say the title.
I did.
What was that?
I did that.
Oh, you did that too? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you had the DLC.
That's
But
right.
I played that, and that's pretty much what I did every day after work. I don't really watch many films aside from the homework that stuck with me. So it wasn't a boring week because I've really enjoyed this game, and I look forward to finishing it in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
And here I thought you were gonna just hate this game because I kept saying it's kind of like Assassin's Creed, and that's not your bag.
Well, I will say this. I did get frustrated last night. I got into one duel, and it took me quite a few attempts to beat this one person, and it was very frustrating. But it happened eventually, and I moved on.
Well, it's a good game. It's. I think we're all in agreement that it's the first act that's easily the longest, and if anything, like, it's a bad word, but like, not a chore, but kind of like a chore. It's really the second and third act that you're trying to get to.
It's
Oh,
work.
well,
You don't have
I
to
will
hate
say
work,
this
but it's
though.
work.
I will
Yeah.
say this though, and I mentioned this to Alex. So I downloaded the DLC mainly because I wanted the PS5 upgrade, and I'm not sure if I could have just bought that for $10 or if I had to buy it all together for 30. But I ended up buying it just for the PS5 upgrade. But like, I'm only probably halfway through the game, and apparently, I don't know if I was just at the right spot at the right time, but it loaded the mission for the DLC like at the next place that I went. And I'm like, it's like, do you want to go to Icky Island? I'm like, hold up. I thought I needed to finish the game first before this was an option. And now you're telling me I can just go there now? Okay, that's cool. Needless to say, I didn't go there because I didn't want to like mess up the flow of everything else.
Yeah, that's especially weird because they reference, well, not heavily, but they talk about the end of the game in the DLC. So it's kind of like, what? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the DLC, yeah, like you said, just loads that mission and lets it readily be available. But I can't believe that there's not like a trigger for like you beat the game and then it's available. So that is weird. I don't see why that's the case. But Ryan, what did you do this week?
I didn't do too much. I watched Labyrinth because I guess it turns 35 this year,
It
and I have to
did.
watch that movie every
Oof.
once in a while to change my rating from a 6 to a 7 to a 6 to a 7 to a 6 to a 7. Now it's back to a 6, but next time I watch it, it'll be back up at a 7.
Well, that's because you had so many musicals you watched this week, and you're like, you know what? I'm done with this.
That is fair because I did watch 3 musicals. Two other than Labyrinth, 2 of them were new. I watched Vivo on Netflix, which is not written or directed, but pretty much by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And then I watched Annette on Prime, which was by Sparks. And I hated both of these movies quite a lot. So, you don't have to spend 2 hours and 20 minutes watching a sad musical with just singing nonstop, which includes, singing like during childbirth, and it's really taxing to get through. The daughter is like a puppet the whole time, and I don't really ever understand why she's just a wooden doll instead of like a little kid. They never really explain it.
Wait, which one is this?
Annette, not Vivo.
Okay.
Yeah, Annette is definitely the worst of the 2 movies because it's 2.5 hours of just nonsense. If you want a musical version of a film by a band, watch Yellow Submarine or anything else maybe. Or if you want a 2.5 hour operetta, watch Les Miserables, or it doesn't work. Vivo is a kids movie, and if you want to entertain your kids while also depressing them, you can put it on in the background, and they'll probably ask you lots of questions about life at the end because humor hits way too low for older kids, and the emotional beats hit way too high for younger kids. And Miranda's singing is way too fast for that middle age of people who actually enjoy kids musicals. but I laughed a couple times and it was better than Annette. So 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. That was my weekend.
You're telling me on the Labyrinth you had to keep going 7 and 6 between, I haven't seen that movie in so long. The only part I can remember is he's like, you remind me of the Babe. Who's the Babe? "Oh, the one with the power." What power? The power of the Babe. And I'm like, that's all I can remember.
It's the power of voodoo, hoodoo, you do.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like,
and then they sing and dance magic dance because it's just suddenly a musical at that point.
how can you go back?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I have
That
not.
movie,
It's been forever since I've seen that movie, and I don't know. I'm just off put by the Muppet thing, but
okay.
But I understand.
I gotta talk a little bit about Labyrinth now because this movie is just so weird. Like audiences seem to really like it. Critics don't like it. There's more happening than Dark Crystal, which is like constantly the companion piece. And this was actually brought in because I bought Labyrinth, the board game, which isn't a good board game, but it was half off. So
there was a reason for that.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure, it's unbeatable. And we owned the Dark Crystal one, and it's the same game, just copy paste with Labyrinth. And Dark Crystal is unbeatable, so we knew it going into it. I don't know. This movie, it gets so aimless, and the humor level is so up and down. As far as like the maturity for the target demographic goes, sometimes musical, it's sometimes not. Sometimes it's really hard to look at. The Fireys are like the most dated scene I think I've ever seen in a film released after Tron. But it's also so freaking well made. Like I just love watching like all the practical effects and how he incorporates all the puppets into it. And like Ludo is an incredible animatronic puppet. And David Bowie just gives that movie his all. So I just can't decide. Every time I watch it, it just depends on the mood I'm in. But I definitely flip flop on that. So if you guys haven't watched it recently, I recommend watching it and then being either really disappointed or really surprised, depending on how much you liked it the last time.
I didn't actually know that Jim Henson himself directed it. I just knew that he was involved. I didn't know he, was the main guy.
I don't think his direction is a problem. I think that film just everything fantasy before Fellowship of the Ring needs a little bit of a curve. Mm-hmm. And I think this falls in that category of like fantasy movies just could not find their footing until a movie could set that standard for them. Like even the best fantasy movies that came out before Fellowship of the Ring, they're fine. Even if you put them in the time, but it seems like that was never a genre that really excelled. And this film was like, what if we just put David Bowie and Muppets and made it a musical? And it just kind of rolls with it.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, do you like tight leather pants? Then watch Labyrinth.
Do you want a guy doing a weird hand model right in front of David Bowie, just awkwardly crouching in front of him doing this with a little ball? But gosh, he does such a good job with that thing.
No one else like him. All right, so we're ready to talk about some news. What little I could find.
Oh, you found a bunch of news, man. There is some genuine stuff to talk about here.
Yeah, I had to dig back between 4 and 5 days ago. So, all right. So first that I have, I like to incorporate a little bit more gaming news into these.
Now that the boss isn't here, you can have free reign of.
Yeah, I know, right? Let me stretch my wings a little here.
We're going to talk about sports now.
All right.
Now here's Matt with the weather.
Man, when did I turn into the cooking channel? No, but the first bit of news that I found today is that Dying Light 2, the sequel to the same title game, horror action survival game by I think Tech Lab, has been delayed until next year. And I'm not sure when it was supposed to come out this year, but it has been delayed, and I do not think that a specific window was given. Probably it's got to be between the first quarter to like the first month of the second quarter of next year. Because I can't imagine that there's too much to do with this game left.
So Alex, as someone who hasn't played Dying Light 1, why should I be mad?
I don't know. You shouldn't. I'm just saying for those of us that are watching / listening and are peeved that Dying
Yeah.
Light.
Not everything's about you, Matt.
Yeah, not everything's about you.
For those of us
Okay,
who've only
sorry,
seen the
guys.
movie Dying Light with Nicolas Cage, what is this?
Well, I personally don't know too much about it myself, but I know it to be a popular game, especially amongst PC gamers. At least I think it's PC. Pretty sure the first one's on PC. I just know it to be a pretty popular game, and that was the biggest chunk of gaming news that I could find, other than talking about the showcase from last week. So I just threw it in, kind of. That sucks, but it actually, okay, I've read just here that it's February 4th of next year. So it was supposed to come out December 7th this year, but got pushed back essentially just 2 months. So that's not bad. Okay, so the next thing I have on, the Hawkeye trailer came out this week. I did not personally watch it because I just wanted to, I guess, go into this as completely fresh as I can, because I don't necessarily have the highest hopes for this show. I feel like we're gonna get hyped and then it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall, man. So
Just set your expectations to low, man, and
no.
watch the trailer, man. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's good stuff. You're gonna get ready. This Christmas, or this trailer got me all jacked up for Christmas. I'm all set, man. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. And not to mention there was a surprise like cameo or appearance by Vera Farmiga. Are you kidding me? I'm down for this.
I know Matt long
I'm
enough
excited.
to not know if that's sarcasm or not. I have no idea. I know you long enough.
My expectations are low like yours, but I was genuinely surprised by the tone. I didn't know it was going to be a holiday thing, and I'm kind of excited. I'm hoping it's short and sweet.
Yeah. Ryan, did you watch it?
I did, yes. It was very cheerful. I'm also setting my expectations low, not because I think it looks bad, but because I think Hawkeye is a loser. Kidding. But yeah,
You're like, bring on Kate Bishop. We don't want to see this Hawkeye guy anymore.
But I think it looks fine. I kind of don't want to see anything more from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more so excited that hopefully that we just kind of have this low stakes, not really connected to anything big happening in the MCU show, and that's what this looks like it will be. Hopefully, I don't want be nice to have a break from the multiverse already.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Alex, take your
Spoiler.
glasses off for a second. I think I realized what facial hair you have.
That's right. Even though I don't. I know it's really this part of my chin that just doesn't. It's like thin.
I've been looking at you as Chris Evans all day, so congratulations.
Well, I even though I don't see it, Ashley has compared me when I grow my beard out to similar to Chris Evans, and then when I shave it down, she said I look like Sebastian Stan, and I'm like, I know that sounds like me making up. She said it, and I'm like, I don't agree at all.
Yeah. Okay.
I just look like the every handsome.
I need to get some of those drugs that Ashley's on, man.
Yeah, right. I know. I do as well. I don't know what she's smoking, but
okay.
But
so
yeah,
my favorite thing about this, and this is, I have to give something mild away. So Alex, if you don't want to know this thing, you should detach.
Yeah, just throw it out.
I am so excited to see Captain America the musical on stage, which we get like a second of in the trailer, and I just genuinely hope there's an entire episode dedicated to this. I just want an out of context Avatar: Last Airbender style episode where we're watching a play recap of the MCU.
And then Zemo's like dancing all the way through it.
I think that's a missed opportunity if they don't do that. They're like,
I
all right,
agree.
we have an extra episode. What are you going to do? I don't know. It's just a musical.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not trying to compare it to Last Airbender already, because it's like an amazing show, but that episode manages to satirize the first 2 seasons of the show while also providing character growth in the episode that it's just spending on just them watching a play. It's pretty incredible how they did that. And I'm like, you could definitely do the same thing and have things getting accomplished and just constantly kind of go back to this play that they're trying to get through. And we just get MCU jokes for 45 minutes. Marvel shows have spent worse time than that already. So
that's right. Couldn't have said it better. All right, moving on. I did not actually know that this was a thing until I read about it this morning. There is new set pictures of Nightmare Alley, which is the next Guillermo del Toro big thing. I shared it on the page today or on the group. I don't know if anybody saw any of those. I don't know if they're. I had no idea that Willem Dafoe was in it and Bradley Cooper. Any thoughts on these? I have never seen this at all. So
is this the anthology film, the anthology-esque one?
I think it is, but I'm not 100%. I want to say that is true.
I love the pictures. I'm always on board for everything Del Toro does, but I am constantly seeing his name put out there, even in stuff he directed. That's like, this is clearly you showed up and helped somebody else by doing practical effects and visual direction for a not great film. So cautiously optimistic. I agree. I didn't actually know. I kind of had forgotten about this, so I didn't know any of the cast. So far, looks good.
Yeah, it's a remake, evidently, of a 1947 film of the same name. Didn't know that either. So there's a little news within.
I didn't know anything about this movie until you just brought this up. So I'm like staring at my phone, reading about it right now. And apparently it's got Toni Collette in it as well. So I'm a little excited because she's pretty good in these type of films.
Is there I think it has it's a release date for, I don't know on what medium, but it is set for December 17th of this year.
It says theaters in the article that I'm reading.
Is Del Toro actually directing this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he getting 2 directorial films coming this Christmas? Because isn't Pinocchio still slated for December?
I'm not sure. Maybe. That'd be weird. I know which one I'm leaning towards more. Let me look that up because I don't.
Yeah, I have not been following that film and its production. Just because we just had a Pinocchio film in January.
So Pinocchio, at least according to Wikipedia for right now, is set for next year. Through just Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was kind of to make room. Netflix has already got a busy fall winter lineup, so.
Yes, and there's no specific window in which it's going to come out. It just says next year.
Okay.
So with an initial release date for this year, obviously. But yeah, so I thought those were interesting pieces. I'm going to do a little bit opposite, like Clint. I'm not going to save sad news for last. I'm going to go ahead and just plug it on in here. Yesterday, in fact, we learned that Norm McDonald had passed away at the age of 61. And I was a little shocked by this because I was like, 61 is obviously not that old. And I think I was more shocked that what he had passed away from is cancer. Didn't say specifically what kind of cancer, like lung cancer or anything, but he had been dealing with this for, I think, going on a decade, maybe even longer. So just kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm pretty sad about that. So
yeah, it hit me pretty, I guess, hard as a celebrity death can hit you. But I mean, Norm McDonald is someone that I have been a fan of for 20 plus 25 years. He was my favorite Weekend Update host. I don't know, I just kind of related to his humor a lot, and that just sucks, man. Cancer sucks, and the fact that, I mean, it's cool that he didn't let anyone know about it, so no one had to worry or whatever, but dying at 61 is not cool. So, but he did say, what did I read? He was talking about cancer, and he was like, so if you die from cancer, I can't, and this is me just messing up the quote entirely, but he was like, if you die from cancer, cancer doesn't win, because if you die, the cancer dies too. So at worst, it's just a draw. So
it's a good way of going out with at least somewhat positive attitude. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So it's good stuff, man. That sucks. Watch Dirty Work. It's not a horrible film.
Rest in peace, Norm. So the next thing that I saw, and when I showed this to Matt earlier, or when he read this earlier, he was like, "This can't be real." So the Twins movie with Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito is getting a sequel titled Triplets, and with the same guys, and Tracy Morgan's going to be thrown into the mix a little. And I told Matt this is the headliner for why do we need this? There's no fathomable.
Well, I can tell you, you know, my yearly viewing of Twins, because I have to watch it every year because it's one of the greatest films ever made. At the end, I'm just like, man, why is this film over? Why can't there be a sequel? Just so I can just continue the story, because it's just not enough. And thankfully, you know, the team got back together and they enlisted Tracy Morgan, and they're like, you know what, guys, let's make a Triplets movie. And so I am just so excited. I can't wait, man. Get the team back together. Hilarity will ensue.
I've never even seen the original film.
I couldn't.
You probably have. You just don't remember.
No, I mean, maybe my dad had it on one time on one of the higher channels, and I was just like, okay, that's a thing.
I feel like Twins is one of those movies where someone could explain it to you, and then you're just like, did you just make that up? Is that really a movie? And then they tell you the plot to Junior, and you're like, wait, did you just make that up? Is that a real movie? So Schwarzenegger made some weird films back in the day.
Yeah, he was whoever Nick Cage's agent was Schwarzenegger's agent for a while, probably. Don't turn down a role, man. Just take him off. Just take what job you can get.
I don't think Nicolas Cage has an agent. I think if you called that number, he'd answer.
I'm pretty sure if we had like a film, like a script and some good financing, and it was like a really weird script, we could probably send it to Nick Cage and he would do it.
No, yeah, between the four of us, I mean, I know some people who could actually get a hold of him, no problem. We could hire Nick Cage to do it.
I still need to see Pig. I still haven't watched Pig.
It's probably the best film of 2021 so far.
Oh, don't set my hope. Don't set my expectations up, Ryan. I can't be disappointed.
Well, it's slow burn drama about a guy trying to find a pig. So start with the story and end with the realization that it's the best movie of the year by default.
Does Nick Cage have a particular set of skills in this movie?
Oh,
no, well, yeah, cooking. It's incredible. I love this movie and the way it puts his characters to use. I already talked about Pig, but guys, if you haven't seen Pig, go watch Pig. It's so freaking good.
I need to watch
It's like
this.
the most emotional I've ever been. I've been watching a movie this year. And it's just a guy trying to get a pig.
Just a guy trying to get a pig. Well, next up, I had and I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. The Willy Wonka prequel that's been kind of in the works with Key from Key and Peele, and then Timothy Chalamet is in it as well. I threw this in there, not 100% sure if we had, so I didn't know if we had any extra thoughts.
Yeah, I think we did, but I don't remember what we said about this.
I said, why do we need this? And then moved on. But I was like, I guess I'm still continuing that. Why do we need this? Do we need to move on?
On the list of things I'm interested in, we have the Triplets movie, and then we have this Willy Wonka preview right underneath of it. So, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. I think the only thing for me is that I don't really care about either adaptation of this movie, the original book adaptation or the Tim Burton remake. Honestly, they're the same to me. I could care less about either one. Gene Wilder's incredible, but that movie's terrifying. Johnny Depp is terrible, but that movie's kind of gets the tone right. So I'm hoping this movie can learn its lesson, but also didn't we just get this no, I guess it's pretty old.
Yeah.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was that like 2004. I remember going to see it, but
I'd rather see a sequel with Charlie in the factory and Willie just yelling at him the entire time, saying he's doing everything incorrectly.
well, you cast
That's what I
somebody as
want.
old as Timothy Chalamet at this point, you might get that because he seems a little young to be Charlie, or a little old to be Charlie,
Yeah.
which
Maybe
is
Charlie's
because
dad.
he was like the young kid for a while, but now I'm like, well, he's not actually a kid.
He's like 25.
Yeah. So
Nah, he looks like somebody who probably just got out of high school, if you ask me.
Yeah, I guess you could. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious.
Yeah. So maybe more on that to come in the following months. Yeah, I read this and I was like, let's walk before we run here. There has been a confirmed Batman spinoff series starring Colin Farrell's Penguin, which is I think currently in development, and I'm less like, we don't even know if this movie's good, guys. We don't even know. So why are we greenlighting this already?
I feel like what happened is James Gunn wrapped up Suicide Squad, and they were like, "Good work," and he was like, "Also, it took a week and shot an entire show," and they were like, "Oh, really?" And he was like, "Yeah, John Cena was on board. It only cost you guys a couple extra $1 million," and he was like, "Can we do that for all our movies?"
Yes.
Yes, John Cena can be in all of your movies.
But yeah, Alex, I'm with you. Like, walk first, because we don't know if that spin-off show is going to be any good yet, and we haven't seen the movie to compare this spin-off to in the first place. So if you make your Batman and you make your Penguin show, and then John Cena's show is terrible, and then your Batman movie is terrible, what the heck did you make your Penguin show for?
Yeah. It's like falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
With movies.
Also, if they give this character the performance and treatment he deserves, who wants to watch that?
I have a slight interest in the character, but for the most part, I agree with you. Like, it's a project that's not probably the most sought after.
Maybe Disney can make a Penguin origin story, and they'll make him a young, attractive guy, and he's got this worse person who's like obsessed with polar bears, so he's not quite as bad. But they have to compete, and then he ends up being kind of bad at the end. But
or maybe HBO can jump on the like multiverse bandwagon, and we can bring Danny DeVito back too.
Ooh.
And we can have two penguins.
And then it's all penguin and triplets all at the same time.
Oh man,
universe.
Mr. Freeze and the Penguin.
Man,
I mean, I never put that together, I guess.
We've got ideas brewing. I like it. So I was excited about this, that Rian Johnson confirmed that Knives Out 2 had completely finished wrapping up its filming. So I'm like, cool. I'm ready for it. Is it still slated for the end of this year? Or was it ever? Because I read it thinking, okay, I'm so ready, but I'm actually not totally sure.
No, right now it's 2022.
Okay.
I think when it was initially pitched, like when we were gonna go, let's say when it was gonna be like, we're gonna get Knives Out 2, then they were talking about 2020 or 2021, or
Mhm.
it was like 2019, so 2021. But I think when Netflix was like, we're doing a whole bunch of these, then that's when it got pushed back, because Netflix, again, going back to this, Netflix is a really full fall and December and winter.
Yes. So, but either way, I'm excited about it. I like the first one enough to jump on board with this. So I'm like, yay, we just know that it's wrapped up. So
yeah, I don't know if it's just me. I think I was more surprised. Like, I feel like because they announced that they were going to do two sequels, like they're going to do like at least 2 and 3, and I was kind of surprised. And this may or may not be the case, that they weren't shooting both of them at the same time, maybe. But I guess not.
We're still gonna get Knives Out 3 before Avatar 2.
James Cameron, what are you doing with your life, man? Come on.
It's already filmed, man. It's already filmed.
I feel like it's already been filmed since 2010.
He's just waiting on the CGI to improve.
They just want that hype train to go like 500,000 miles before releasing.
Apparently, all you have to do is release a trailer, because that's what the heck happened with The Matrix. People were like, "Oh, Matrix 4 is coming out." Now everyone's like, "Oh, Matrix 4 is coming out." Just get a movie out there.
I'm glad you said that, because we finally got the poster, teaser poster for that, and I'm like, Matt, are you ready for the most epic poster? And it's just all completely blank white except the 2 pills, and I'm just like, I mean, I guess it does its job. Oh well, but Knives Out 2 wrapped up. we'll be seeing it soon, probably. Paul Thomas Anderson, best known for things like Magnolia, Phantom Thread, and There Will Be Blood. His next film, officially titled Licorice Pizza. I just found that amusing, just the title by itself. Originally titled Soggy Bottom, not to be confused with Black Rainey's, or what is it? Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Not to be confused with that. This
Or
also
Gunpowder Milkshake.
Yes, exactly. Not to be confused with these other titles. Ben Stiller and Bradley Cooper makes another appearance on this show, is starring in this, and I don't know if this is good or bad or not. I've never heard of this. I don't know anything about this. I was hoping that maybe you two would know.
I mean,
I'm prepared for a long, drawn-out film that will probably bore me a little bit, but at the end, I'll be like, "Wow, that was a good film."
yeah, even his bad films are good films. Like there's several that I really don't like, but I own like half of his others. So
I remember wanting to see Phantom Thread and just never got around to it.
oh, it's incredible. I have it on Vudu.
Oh,
Vudu,
okay,
I'm
then
not sharing my
I will have
password,
to.
for the record, but just a fun fact that I have it on Vudu. But yeah, I mean, Phantom. I mean, he does. He man, I'm with you. He does take this interesting thing where most of his films take a while. It's like 2/3 build up to a last act of completionist, but that last act wraps up those 2/3 so well. You get like There Will Be Blood, and you spend half the movie wondering what it's about, and you think you figured it out, and it ends, and you're like, "Wow, that was great," but you don't really know why. You have to watch it again.
Dang.
Crazy movie. But I was like, just Licorice Pizza. I thought that was an amusing title in and of itself. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let me throw this in there.
It's no Punch Drunk Love.
Okay,
That's
so
Anderson, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was
thought
gonna
so.
say,
You guys looked
Yeah.
at me like, "What are you talking about?"
No, that's probably.
I did
my
think about
favorite
it for
film
a
of his,
second.
actually. So
It's up there.
yeah,
I like.
I was
it a lot.
like, I think you're right, but I had to think about it for a second. Next on the list, before we get into, I'd mentioned earlier, the PS5 showcase. The last bit of film news I was able to kind of dig up was, no shocker here. Encanto, the Disney film slated for, I believe it's November, not December, will be hitting the Disney streaming service 30 days after its theatrical release, not at the same time like some people had been suspecting. So I'm like, okay, that's fine, that's good. I'm all for that, as a theater employee trying to make sure that the business stays alive.
yeah, I just read today, I think that they announced that all the rest of their 21 releases are all going to get theatrical exclusives.
Oh, good, good.
So, I mean, the caveat of that is that I think they're either 30-day or 45. I think most of them are 45-day windows. I think the Encanto is 30 days, so it's on the streaming service by Christmas. I think that's why they put that one at 30.
Yeah, I think it's in theaters in Thanksgiving.
Yes, yeah. I think I read either it was 21st or 24th, whatever Friday that is. Yeah. So yay. So I'm, like I said, as a theater employee, Matt and I are probably both happy about this.
Well, no, I am. In case something crazy happens, I think most. I know we got a little worried with those, the Clifford move and the Hotel Transylvania move, and then I'm not sure, but I think I'm fairly confident. I think we're good now. I mean, like I said, assuming nothing crazy happens. I mean, we've got Bond tickets are on sale. And that comes out in like 3 weeks. So
yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna talk a little bit about the box office too. Shang-Chi's still like holding number one.
Oh yeah.
But I think the idea is we'll see how the next 2 weeks go, because we don't really have a major release the next 2 weeks. And when I say major, I mean something that people want to go see. Dear Evan Hansen with its 39% on Metascore after premiering. For a 2 hour, 20-minute musical, I'm not interested in seeing anymore.
Dang it.
And we review movies, and I don't want to see it. I mean, like 91-year-old Clint Eastwood is just doing Liam Neeson's movie from January, but again,
the one where he drives an ice truck.
No, the one where he goes and bonds with a kid because he's a grizzled old veteran who needs to learn how to be a good person again.
Wait, shoot, what was the name of that?
The Marksman.
The Marksman. Thank you. I was like, I know this film because we had the poster for it.
Yeah, but I'm with you, man. I think at least by the time Venom comes out, we'll get another good box office surge. Unfortunately, but with its brisk 90-minute runtime, at least it'll be a quick in and out.
Speaking of runtimes, that wasn't on your list. Apparently, Bond is like 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Longest.
I didn't even know that. When did that just get announced or released or anything?
I think it was rumored a while ago, and they officially confirmed it like in the last couple weeks.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah, we haven't talked about all the runtimes. But yeah, it was like as soon as Venom was like, we're 90 minutes, people were like, whoo. And Bond is like 3 hours. We're 2 Venoms.
Oh man, I know, right? Man, I like.
We're gonna
Venom
need
so
an
much.
intermission for this, man. Is that necessary though for a Bond movie? Like 2 hours and 45 minutes?
I hope so, because I mean the longer Bond films seem to use their runtimes really well. Like Casino Royale and Skyfall are 2 hours 20 minutes, and they do not feel like it.
Yeah.
Casino Royale maybe a little bit, but it's also great. And
well,
like
here's
Skyfall,
hoping that 25 minutes of that is credits.
Yeah, right.
we actually get an opening musical album.
I know. I was gonna ask. Yeah. I'm Bond. No, I was wondering what, and you pretty much just answered it. Skyfall being 2 hours 20 minutes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I like all the Daniel Craig, James Bonds. Quantum of Solace is, in my opinion, the most hardest to get on board because it's just so confusing at times.
Yeah.
It's just like, what are we doing? Who? You're good? No. You're bad. No, you're okay. I don't know.
You want
So,
water?
Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Also, also worth noting is that apparently between all like the Bond movie itself, No Time to Die, costs like 200+ million to make, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And between all of the like release date changes and like promotional, because they've been running like ads for the past year and a half, 2 years for this movie, and they've had promotional changes and they've had to change all this. Apparently it's cost almost $1 billion already for the studio, like 900 million. And so they're going to have to make that much money just to break even.
Well, that's hopefully over the course. I'm praying that it does well. It's obviously not going to make that money even close anywhere on the theatrically. So
Unless they eat that up in China, man. Do they like James Bond in China?
They like Skyfall.
Huh?
So
there you go.
Maybe he's got a chance. I'm rooting for him. Daniel Craig, yeah, we need you to go out on a bang here. Yeah, unless is there anything else that I missed as far as films go, TV goes?
Well, let me do my weekly check. You can go ahead, Ryan.
I was just gonna give some more love to Shang-Chi and Free Guy for pulling second place, because Malignant just dead on arrival with third place. Not as much as HBO's Reminiscence, which opened in like 9th place.
I will say this though, like Malignant never even did anything this weekend at our location.
Nope.
In fact, like Candyman was just ringing it up all week.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised it pulled third place, because I mean it only had the one trailer and it came out like 2 months ago. But I guess I don't know. New horror film. It's got a good audience, I guess.
Yeah.
All.
I remember liking Reminiscence more than I like this, but there are moments in this movie, but we'll get to that soon.
Yeah, but it made like a 30 or 20. I don't even remember. It's just the injustice of Night House not performing well, where Candyman and Malignant get to be like, whatever.
Yes.
Well, if they had put Candyman in the Night House, maybe it would have done well.
Probably.
Ooh, there's a thought. Well, melding worlds together. All right. Well, unless you guys have any last minute stuff.
No, I couldn't find anything, man. I think you covered all of the news.
I think I saturated as much as I could, whatever was there. So I was personally very excited for the PS5 showcase that occurred last Thursday. And although I wasn't able to watch it live, I watched it after I got off work that night. And my overall thoughts there are a lot of good things, but there are some. Maybe this is the PlayStation fanboy in me trying to just be as objective as possible. There were some moments that were left me a little lackluster. So just kind of throwing out what was kind of showcased was things that I can remember. Forspoken, that one I was really really excited for. If neither of you guys have seen that part of the showcase or have even heard of it, please just go look it up. It looks so incredibly awesome.
Which one is that the one with the
like,
girl?
Yeah, it's got like the big arm band. It kind of looks like Shang-Chi, but like more of as clothing rather than jewelry. Yeah, it's like an open world game where she kind of looks like Bayonetta, in my opinion. It just looks so good. Open world it looks like you can literally like jump in to the world. It just looks that fresh and open. So that's solely the number one thing that like got the most enthusiasm out of me. And I'm gonna backlash on myself later because I'll go ahead and say it now. The sequel to God of War got announced as well. It was officially titled Ragnarok, which I think is kind of odd that they're calling it that a little bit, depending on what actually happens in the game, only because between the events of God of War and what actually is supposed to take place, Ragnarok is what's known as, I believe, Thimbleweed. So I don't know if this game is going to focus solely on that, or if it's going to go straight into Ragnarok. So it might be a little off with the titling, but I mean, I get it. It's pretty much on the nose, and it's kind of like I was going there anyway, so might as well call that. We got the first official trailer for that, and I'm definitely excited. I mean, this game didn't have to have a trailer at all, and I was going to buy it no matter what. I was just concerned that they showed a little too much of the story for my taste. I don't know. I mean, I trust Santa Monica Studios enough to be like discreet enough where obviously they're not going to show too much to have you put a story together in your mind and then be like 90% right. So I'm excited regardless, and I like how Atreus has aged from the recent game because it's the same voice actor. So that was really overall pretty good. I just am concerned that they showed a little too much.
Joke's on you. They're actually going to kill Kratos off in the first act, and it's just going to be you playing as Atreus the rest of the game.
Don't say these things. Do not say these things. I fully expect that he is going to die at some point in the series. It's got to be the last title, or like the second to last title, where I think they're actually going to have like four of these in this world, if I read correctly. So like between last one, this one more, and then the finale. So I think that's what is going to happen. So about by 2030, we might have a final game. But I was excited about this game overall. Just that story, I was just like, okay, don't push too much, guys. Don't release too much. So, what else was there? We got a little snippet teaser of the next Marvel Spider-Man game, officially entitled Spider-Man 2, which showcased a little bit of Venom in there. So I was like, oh man, that's pretty dope. I like that. It didn't have much to go on other than you have Peter Parker and Miles Morales kind of teaming up. I don't know how they're going to incorporate that. Like if it's going to be like dual, like co-op, or if you're going to be able to control both players at the same time. I don't know. All that teaser just left you to speculate. So, pretty dope trailer.
You're leaving out the worst part. You get on this trailer and you're like, oh wow, new Spider-Man game, hell yeah. Oh smack, it's Venom here, dope. And then it's like 2023, and you're like,
yeah.
What?
I did
2023.
I did forget that. I'm very irritated by that. I was like, why games are like major film productions these days. In fact, they're probably worse because it's like you got to build the ground up with these. I guess filmmaking is a little bit more, I mean, there's editing obviously, but it's a little bit more straightforward. 2023. Yeah, you heard Matt say it. That's the bummer. That is the bummer out of it all. So we just got to sit and wait, and hopefully it's an 80-hour game. But speaking of Marvel and teasers, Wolverine also got a teaser trailer. That was one, like, I'm excited for the game. Obviously it's a teaser, so not much to go on, but I mean, I felt like even the teaserist of teaser trailers have a little bit more than that. So I mean, you just have Logan sitting at a bar and then he kind of does the claws, and that's about it. But it is by Insomniac, so I know it's in good hands.
You're forgetting the worst part, man. So you're in this bar and there's like Wolverine and you're like, oh man, what? And then it goes 2034 and you're like, what? I can't wait to 2034 for this Wolverine game. Just kidding. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but it probably will be in like 10 years.
Yeah, it's when the PlayStation 7 comes out. So, what else was there? Matt, help me out. Was there anything else?
I didn't see any of this because I turned it on and they're like, Knights of the Old Republic remake. And I'm like, all right, done. I don't need to see any more of this garbage. I'm good. Thank you. So I'm excited for that. And that's all that I want right now.
I as well. That one was not as big a teaser, but that's how I want it. Exactly. Don't
also probably coming out in 2030.
It's okay. I'll wait.
I would say it's either Christmas next year or it's 23. I don't know, but we'll see.
They just decided they were going to do the remake. They probably haven't even started yet.
Yeah, right.
So, hypothetical question.
Yes.
Let's say that it comes out like on Christmas. Will this be a PS5 exclusive that I have to buy a new system for? Or do I have to come over and play it? Do I have to fly to Virginia?
Yes.
Spend like a week there just playing it.
We are gonna who made Knights of the Old Republic, or who's making it? Because we need to write them a letter to say, hey, make it a PS5 exclusive so Ryan can come home.
I don't think I've read that it was just going to be PlayStation, and I think they were going to do a PC version too. But I don't know if I read that it was going to be a PS5 exclusive.
I'm gonna have to look this up while you all talk so much to yourselves and fill the silent air for a second.
I don't know why you're so optimistic. Yeah, I'm thinking 2023 at the earliest.
I'll wait.
It says Knights of the Old Republic remake is a PS5 timed exclusive, which is getting a complete remake from ground up and will be a PS5 console exclusive while also launching on PC. So I think, Ryan, what your question is it a generation exclusive? And I think if that's any indication, I think that is yes. So it's going to be on PS5.
Ooh.
PS5,
Yay.
and then we'll eventually switch over to the Series S and X. So, but probably like Matt said, it's gonna be probably a while before that game comes out. So you got time, man. You got time. You can't even get PS5s now. Nobody can play it now. So that's why it's all 2023. It's when the actual console will be readily available again.
So you guys in a couple years.
Can't wait that long, Ryan. We'll be here now. So, and then I know there were a couple other games. I know there was a remake of some type of old, like, kind of point and click kind of game, but I have no idea what that was. So, unless Matt's got anything else, I think we are ready to get into our review.
I think we're good, man.
All right. Well, this week we reviewed a horror film called Malignant. I just went onto IMDb to get the synopsis real quick. So the main character, Madison, apparently it says is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. Ooh. Yeah. So does anybody feel compelled to go first? And Ryan is getting all into character. I like it. So I feel like
That might be a little bit of a spoiler.
The floor is yours, sir. The floor is yours.
Clearly no one saw it this weekend, so I don't even know if I want to go first. That's okay. We'll start with the ground up because you can only get more positive than me. I have nothing nice to say about this movie. First off, I want to address the fact that I don't think I've been lied to by a trailer so badly in quite some time. This looked really good. I was excited. You got James Wan's name on it. I didn't know the cast. A really interesting premise, and what looked like a really unique take on your typical kind of not necessarily ghost story, but for the sake of what a modern ghost story has kind of evolved into a modern ghost story. And I credit that evolution of the modern ghost story to James Wan almost exclusively for his films like Insidious and The Conjuring. The guy has helped single-handedly renovate horror. So this was a devastating letdown when it was the worst throwback in the worst possible way to mid-80s body horror that had no idea what it wanted to be. It was totally, completely all over the place. I even the usual positive things that I have to say about most movies, like you guys hear me complain a lot about movies, but I'm always like, well, you know what? The music was good and the performances were good. That is not the case in this movie. I think everything failed on a very fundamental level. There were some unique ideas, sure, and I don't think it was. My one takeaway at the end was, well, at least it wasn't a 2-hour HBO Max commercial. I suffered through it and didn't fall asleep when Bugs Bunny died. So it was slightly better. It was slightly more entertaining than just being force-fed commercials. But I get it, and I just don't think any of this film worked for me. I obviously don't want to get too into it, and obviously I've kind of led away that there's not the movie is not as advertised at all. But it does this cold open with this really cheesy, badly acted, campy B movie scene, and I was like, "Oh, this is clever. This is that movie in a movie." It's not, and it never gets better than that. It never really recovers from that. It kind of hits its stride and ignores that scene for a while, and then when you bridge it together, it's like, this is nonsense. It's like they're making it up as they go along, and it feels very much like they're making things up as they go along. There's massive continuity errors between the setup and payoff of this particular thing. The whole film revolves around this thing that I can't give away. It is just the silliest thing. And if you like that concept, that's fine. You might enjoy the execution of it. But I tried to get behind the concept, and I was still laughing at the execution. And I was trying not to. I don't like to laugh at movies, but I could not get over how silly the execution of this idea was, and it made me hate the idea itself. So my instinct is to just go ahead and drop a 2 out of 10 and let you guys go. But I have to complain about a couple more little fundamental things of horror. It is such a bad idea to just give your direction. Scream. Every like 10 minutes. And there's things in this where she just lets out this arguably bad, blood-curdling 90s B-movie scream for no reason. Like, she's in one of her visions and she like wakes up and there's this like older guy and she screams, and I'm like, what are you screaming for? This is like your third vision. He's not a scary guy. He's not dead. You're used to this at this point. What are you screaming for? And it just makes me think that they got to set and he had no idea what he wanted this actress to do. And the whole film feels like that, where it's like, well, okay, we're editing the scene. We've got this really nice slow pan. What do we want music here? I don't know. Just crank it up to 11. Just go and just get really into it. And I'm like, this is not the finale from Fight Club. You don't need to be scoring this hard. Like, it's really silly. And there's these really intense shots of sitting police cars. That's great. I'm glad we spent like 45 seconds panning across these police cars with intense music, only to go to the next scene. It's just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't like it. It's hard to get really into without getting into the spoilers of what's critically wrong with it. But even early on, it's just a very broken movie early on, and it does not set up the payoff properly enough to make you say, "Oh, this is awesome now for me." It just makes you say, "This is the twist we're going with." So, yeah, 2 out of 10, sticking with it.
I feel like it's vital that I go next because I feel like I'm a nice blend of your thoughts and Matt's thoughts to come. Yes, okay. I'll start off where I agree with you. Yes, that opening, very cold open is so dumb. It's like it feels like it shouldn't be a part of the movie at all. I think you almost could do the same plot without it because I feel like well established. They established whatever they were trying to do in the past into the rest of the movie, so they don't need it. It's dumb. The acting's stupid. Um, And I remember I was texting with you as I was like going through, I don't know, the first 40 minutes, and I was just like, God, the acting in this is so bad, especially on like the secondary characters, being like the detectives.
Ugh.
So bad, so bad. Like they're not believable. They're cheesy dialogue. It just feels like they got the script that day and they were told, hey, say this, in any kind of sarcastic way that you feel like is effective for your character. So that happened. And then I did agree with you for I'd say 50-50 on the sound and the music. Like the score, if you can call that, is okay overall for me. It's the like I don't know, the music selection when they're like transitioning from like going to the house to I don't know the police station or something like that. The music choice is really really weird. It's off-putting to me sometimes because it just doesn't feel like it sets the tone or isn't keeping with the tone. It's really out of place and it distracted me. What else did I think was bad? Yeah, those were the two glaring things. I did find myself laughing at it too. I definitely thought because I shared that article with you last week, not having watched the movie, Ryan, and I said, I even thought today, I was like, yeah, this movie is silly. Like it's really silly, and it looks like off camera the director was like, okay, give this scream at this random time, and go, and then okay, and you're done. So yes, I agree with that. So, and I was thinking all these negative things, and I actually thought that the final act of the movie kind of redeemed this film. I actually dug the concept. I'm sure it's been done before. Not trying to get into it before spoilers, but like I was like, okay, this is not that bad, and I think the execution was better in the second half. They didn't stick the landing, but they definitely had more of a graceful approach to the end than they started with at the beginning. Then the acting got, kind of not sidestepped, but like it became kind of a not as big a priority. This movie made me flip-flop between actually having some types of suspense stowed within me and then being, okay, this is really dumb. Like I was like, ooh, this is kind of freaking out. And then I'm like, and then again, not trying to get into spoilers, but I was just like, whoa, by the at least for the last, I don't know, 20 minutes, half hour, something like that. It's not a great movie. It's definitely not a great movie. But I can't say that it's the worst movie I've ever seen by any stretch. The rating is where I just couldn't. It deserves no more than a 5. Absolutely no more than a 5. But does it deserve a 5? I'm gonna say a 5 for right now. And then maybe Matt's thoughts will actually deter me, even though he's gonna be on the most positive of us. So if you need to see a horror movie and you've saturated the entire genre elsewhere, then maybe go see this. But as Ryan mentioned, there are better films. Candyman's even better than this. But Night House definitely better than this. But if you need to see something because you just absolutely ran through the genre, then go see this. But don't.
Well, I think if you want a scarier film, you can just turn off all the lights and walk around your house.
Backwards.
That's so funny you say that. Not to cut off Matt before his review, but Ashley had come home doing her like babysitting thing for my nephew. And I had run to the store and came back, and she's like, "Where are you?" And I said, oh, I just got home. She's like, oh, that's weird because I tracked your phone and it says you're here. I was like, I didn't want to walk into the closet and you were like all chopped up or something. I was like, so that is I was like, hey, we just wrote a screenplay without knowing it. But
Better one.
Now it is Matthew's turn. The floor is yours, sir. As he drinks his liqueur.
There's so much to say, man. This isn't a great movie. that much is for certain. The script is horrible. But is it a fun movie at the end? Yeah. This is a kind of like horror movie. It's like definitely a throwback horror movie, like early 90s, late 80s. This is the kind of movie that you would watch like on a Saturday afternoon on like network TV where they're doing hosted by Elvira or something that would show them. It's fun. Like, I will say this, I'm not giving James Wan like a hall pass on anything on this, unless this is what he was going for. I'm not sure, but I will say this: when the movie was over, I was like, man, that sucked. But the more I thought about it, the more I genuinely appreciated the concept. I'm not entirely sure if this actress, Annabelle Wallis, was the go-to actress for this role. She's obviously one of James Wan's go-tos. I think she's the lead in, oddly enough, Annabelle. There's that. But her performance was a little off kilter. I was not a fan. Also, you guys mentioned the scoring. And I don't know if this is it, but they spammed so much this orchestral like remix of Where's My Mind by the Pixies, which was it was so annoying, and it took me out of the film so much. I was like, is that what I think it is? And I'm like, wait, is this a spoiler? Is this something that's going on? And it was just a little too much for me.
Yeah. To piggyback off that too, I listened to the whole score today, and it's not the composer's work because it's not in the score. So I think you're 100% right, and that's why it reminded me of Fight Club.
Yeah. Which it was super annoying. The plot it's written by like a 5-year-old. I mean, they're just like, we need to get here. Does this make sense? Who cares? Let's do this. It's basically, this film is based, I'm assuming it's James Wan, had this idea, and he was like, what if this happens to this person and they murder people? And I can't say I was taken aback or tricked, because I never actually watched the trailer for this. I went in here fresh, so I had no idea what was going on. So I don't know I'm interested now to go watch the trailer now that you thought it was going to be something it wasn't. So I had no idea. Oddly enough, I felt it was a fairly predictable movie, except for very specific things towards the end. But like I said, it's bad, but the concept, I think, works at the end, and it makes it an enjoyable watch. I have to watch this film again tonight because my brother-in-law is coming over and he hasn't seen it yet. And I'm low-key excited to watch it again, knowing how it actually ends, just to see how everything works and if it works better. Overall, I give this film probably a 6. I don't think this is the Rotten Tomatoes edge. I think it's fresh. But I mentioned to you guys before we started recording, I think it's very, very telling if you go check the ratings on this. There's no really a bell curve with the score, outliers being high and low, and the medium being the high scores. This is one of those films where it's like the highs, there's a lot of high scores and a lot of low scores, and the middle is pretty much empty. So it's a kind of a love it or you hate it film. But I cannot say it enough. When the movie was over, I definitely was like, wow, that sucked. But the more that I think about it, the more I enjoyed it. And maybe it's because that third act is not so good, but so interesting. So spoiler time. We can talk about everything, because this movie, if you know the spoiler, I don't know if you're going to enjoy it at all the first time. So we'll see. Would you like to go first, Ryan? Do you have anything to say that
I
more
better not,
specifically?
because I'm going to start that Fast and Furious train of nitpicks. But
You
here,
can,
my
man.
only question to start this ball rolling is: have you ever tried punching through a human being? Because this is just a regular person slash somewhat not a regular person. But like, why are we doing so much supernatural stuff the whole time? Why can this individual make lights flicker and punch through human beings and take out an entire room full of uniformed officers? And
Ryan, she has supernatural powers, so she can kill that guy with a pacemaker.
Yeah.
but why and how?
Ryan, there is a being coming out of the back of this girl's skull. What do you mean, why or how?
So here's the thing. I like how we're like, let's get into spoilers and not give the context, but it's okay. Matt, or before we started this, you compared this film to Basket Case, and I did that in my review. There's something that makes Basket Case kind of work, and I was looking up Basket Case because I actually haven't watched it. But I was like, oh, we got to look up what year this was, and I saw that it's got like a 71% of Metascore, and I was like, Basket Case is good. And I looked up kind of why, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is kind of good if you look at the kind of core concepts behind it. This has no core concepts behind it. There's just a thing, and I guess it's a supernatural thing. But I'm like you're the supernatural. Like let's go on the idea that you're this supernatural entity, but you're also stuck being a malignant tumor that really can't do anything with your T-Rex arms except take out a room full of people unless they're doing surgery on you. Then like, what raw end of the deal did you get in hell to get stuck attached to another person where all the other demons just get to torment people? Like, I don't know. And I don't think, if that is the case, I definitely didn't catch the explanation to it, because I get that you get like all these supernatural illusions, but like you also don't, like, why is this supernatural being getting run down by like a cop? Teleport or something. Like what there's an inconsistent range of unexplained abilities that this thing does and doesn't have, which includes being able to trick somebody's mind, but also forcing them to watch what you're doing anyway so they can figure it out. Just show her asleep. Like, just show her what asleep looks like. Give her a dream that's just like, here's rainbows and ponies while I'm killing someone. If you have that much power, don't like be like, oh, guess what I'm doing, but it's definitely not you.
It's because Ryan, supernatural abilities are limited to world-class jujitsu. That's it, man. That's it. You can't tell me. No, see, that's where we differ just a tiny bit. I actually kind of I didn't dig it, but I kind of was like, how it phased from knowing that it was her like taking over consciousness to it was him switching over to, when he was killing those individuals. I kind of liked that had to be where the budget went for, making the walls melt and making it switch from her to him. I actually kind of like that aspect. And at its core, and I know you joke that this movie didn't really have a core, and I'm not really arguing that, but I'm more or less saying like the overall concept, don't completely throw it out. But I mean, it is silly. Like, okay, yeah, he's basically this conjoined twin that wasn't able to actually form its own body, so they were just stuck on the back of this person. So why are they so good acrobatically, and why can they do this, and why did it, like, what, like, I get that, but if you take that away, I actually think that this is a decent concept, but you got to dig deep to find that, and I totally get that.
It's such a great concept. Hopefully we get a sequel.
It didn't do well enough to get a sequel, so it probably will get a sequel,
no,
because horror movies can get sequels with $2 million. No, Alex, I agree with that, and I think the reason I hated it is just because I couldn't get past the execution of that concept, and I think if you can, you're more than welcome to enjoy it. And so when I say like a 2 out of 10, it's just because I couldn't take any of it seriously. But if you can take it seriously, you should. like it's probably a really enjoyable movie if you can get behind the concept. It's just when she's like flying around the room and her arms are backwards and her head's like like moving around behind her head. I was like, this is really silly, and it's trying to be like Atomic Blonde, and I didn't understand the choices that were put into it. Where it's like, how like this person's this. It's the most overcomplicated like analogy for domestic abuse ever.
Oh,
It is. It super is. But like, well, I think a lot of I just like hard left into that. But I don't know. I think a lot of horror films have kind of tried to focus on themes. I think that's a really good idea. Seems like the best horror films of the last 10 or so years have either been James Wan or they've been able to focus on unique themes and bring forward those themes. And this film is like trying to have a bit of both, but it just abandons that theme really early on, I think. It's like the inciting incident and the theme is over, which is fine because it never really gets back to it. But I'm like, is the inciting incident also that inciting?
Exactly. Yeah, I know this isn't totally 100% relative, but I kept thinking that they flip-flopped a lot in this movie. Like they totally made the focus. There was no focus for a while. I guess that's why that first half, at least that first half, was so silly as it was, because it just didn't feel like it had any idea like what it really wanted to focus on until it just kind of, gorilla glued itself at the end in a weird deformed way. Haha, no pun intended. But I don't know. Maybe I'm slipping down to a 4, but like sometimes there are like enjoyable 4s. And maybe, but even though Matt's giving it a 6, I would say like there are some 4s where you like, okay, this is not good, but for free, and if it's only so long, I can find some type of amusement out of this, and I'm fairly certain that's just where my head's at.
For me, that's called The Happening.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
Same wheelhouse.
I mean, I will put that movie on annually. It's
this is you said take things seriously. I think you have to approach this movie not taking it seriously.
Oh yeah.
Well, because it's one of those movies where it's like, I mean, it's a supernatural slasher, and it's got silly effects, but it's also like a gore fest at times.
Oh
so if that's something that like you're interested in, just go for it, and you'll probably like it. I mean, like I said, it's written super poorly as far as like plot and pacing, absolutely. Oh, yeah. But as far as like the concept of the slasher goes and the supernatural aspect of it, it's entertaining on that end.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll watch again. I'm still trying to figure out though why in the first scene it might be the second scene that you meet her sister and the detective comes in. It's actually the first time the detective meets her. They're like, she's wearing like a princess outfit. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, yeah, I work at so-and-so. And then it's never referenced again or nothing. So like somebody just wrote her in a princess outfit at the beginning of this and was like, we'll just do this. This makes sense.
I totally forgot about that.
Rushing to the next shoot.
Yes.
She had to be in costume for her next, or there's a reshoot, and they were like, hey, can you shoot for a day? And she was like, yeah, I can run across the lot. You got 20 minutes, but I'm not changing.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because Matt and I were talking about it before we started recording. Like at the end, like even more silly is like, okay, she overcomes, what's his name, Gabriel, and just like kind of locks him away. And I'm like, what is this, Naruto? What are we doing here? And then there's actually a couple of things I thought about when in relation to this movie. I also thought a little bit of, was it Hill House with the bent neck lady, where it turns out it was her the whole time. So I was like, oh, hey, that's basically like that. So, but no, I thought it was really weird. Okay, she overcomes him, she locks him away, and he's like, you know what, I'll just come back next time. And she's all like, I'll be prepared. And then like locks him up, and then bam, that's it. And her head like starts morphing back like to normal and everything. And then they have this like tender moment, she and her sister, like, you are always my sister, no blood or not. And I'm like, what? This just goes with what I was saying before. The focus is so just all over the place. Like, that is not what the scene was supposed to be about. Like, you just ham-fisted this in there. So what a weird way to end the movie, but overall,
it's almost it wasn't a very satisfying ending. Like, I keep talking trash about this movie, but it was fun to watch. But like, you're writing the story and you're having this big epic conclusion, and then all of a sudden she's like, I've trapped you. I'm like, what? You just trapped him in his own prison? Okay, that's cool. Where did this come from? Like, you literally just magically figured out how to trap him in a cell. That's cool.
Yeah, but
Thanks.
it's a mental
Movie's
cell.
over. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for coming up with this really awesome conclusion that just came out of nowhere. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that goes back to A, you said earlier, in case they get a sequel, and B, you got to get back around to your themes where you never really get rid of trauma, but you have to keep it bottled up or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. You spent like 10 minutes of your 2-hour movie focused on that theme.
Ryan, I can't watch you kill 3 more of my babies.
There was another movie. I think it was remember when we watched Run, and we were all like, the comparison I'm making is, shouldn't she have experienced something like this at least some point in her life beforehand? Like, shouldn't he have been like, I'm gonna kill everybody in your life? You know, like, she's almost 30. I don't know if they explained that, but the comparison.
I mean, they
with
showed
Run,
her as a kid, like talking to him like all the time.
That's another question I have. So she's a kid and she's talking to him in this footage, and she's like constantly looking to her left like it's going to be this spiritual thing. It's really just a bunch of arms on her back. Did no one know? Like, did no one see like her back going like and there's a head on her back like verbally speaking to her.
No, that's so
And like
funny.
then she has no memory of it, and then she goes to the hospital and it's clearly the thing it is. And I'm like, none of the
Or
flashbacks.
she has some like really nasty scars back there where she's like, oh.
See, I have a question too. Were the scenes where she's talking with Gabriel, was that like after her surgery or after they cut out the cancer, or before? It was after?
I think it was after, yeah.
Why the heck does it take
Because
getting hit against
it was
the
after
wall?
because she was in the hospital and then she got adopted.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's how it unfolded. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't really explain that well. They don't transition it from, past to what she is now very well. It's just like
Yeah. I think there's what it is? I think there's some unique ideas in this where it's like, what if you had this thing that was haunting you and you didn't remember it, but you looked back and you found your past self acknowledging it, and it was a creepy thing to watch. And then somebody was like, yeah, but what if it was an evil twin? And I'm like, someone took these ideas and just ran with them. It's like an assignment where you get this trailer and you have to make a film off the trailer, but it can't be what people expect. And I think the trailer might be, because getting back into what you were saying, Matt, like once you get to the first scene, if you can accept that level of ridiculousness, in this Days of Our Lives,
all you have to do, you just have to cut to the reveal when they're
to the cancer.
Yeah, where her sister just drives to this abandoned hospital, goes to the records room, finds the one box that has records and apparently VHS tapes still, because this hospital's in pristine, dilapidated condition. And then goes home and puts the VHS. I swear, if she had played that VHS tape in the hospital, I was going to break something. But luckily, she drove home and watched it with her mom. And if you can take the reveal of McKenna Grace with a straight face talking, and then the camera swinging around, and then you see the little guy, if you can take that and go with this movie, you're going to enjoy it. Because I legitimately laughed out loud because it was so ridiculous. But it's entertaining.
I also did, because it was so ridiculous. So I think what we're having is like the same reaction and different emotional responses to that reaction.
Yeah, Matt's definitely of the mindset of it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
But like, it's so bad it's good. And I guess that works with The Happening too. You bring that up. It's like, it's a ridiculous concept too. And I think this is also a ridiculous concept. And it makes it good. The only thing that this doesn't have is Mark Wahlberg doing an exceptionally, amazingly bad performance.
What? No.
And maybe Annabelle Wallace was trying to harness that. It just didn't work.
Yeah. Maybe this will go down as kind of a cult classic because of its quality. And I'm thinking back on it and I was like, I did have a better time watching this movie than I did the 2-hour 20-minute musical and the 90-minute musical that took me 2 watches to get through, but it was worse than those. So I'm like, I don't know. I guess I don't count my enjoyment, ironically, as quality. But if you did, then it's obviously
No, I
like a 5.
totally get that. That's totally understandable. That is totally understandable.
Yeah. If I ever own it, it'll go in my So Bad It's Good collection, so that I don't have to own it.
Yeah.
Which with The Happening, which is and The Wicker Man, which is proudly in my.
I will say this though, and I feel really bad for one of the characters. Her mother in this movie, God bless her soul, gets sexually assaulted, has a kid, gives it up for adoption because no one wants to care for it, and it's a better thing for it. Plus, it's got a really weird conjoined twin. Reestablishes her life, gets a job, chilling, giving tours in the underground Seattle, and then the conjoined twin comes, spoiler alert, and kidnaps her, ties her up in the attic, leaves her up in the attic forever, literally doesn't kill her. And then she frees herself and then falls through a roof, like 2 stories, and crashes on the ground. She goes through so much, and then she ends up in the hospital. And I almost laughed again because the fake out ending when she gets murdered. I'm like, really? This woman has been through so much trauma. Nothing good has happened to her. And then when something good happens to her, she just gets crapped on again. And then she just straight up dies. Poor lady. But luckily she survived, spoiler. And God bless her.
So now the question is, when you put it like that, is this the sequel to Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah, maybe.
She ends up leaving the baby with the cultists. The cultists are like, "Oh, we can't handle this." They take it to the hospital.
I'm just gonna pretend like the Gabriel is just like a Horcrux, just a part of Voldemort's soul, which explains like the mental powers, like the supernatural thing going on.
It just I think this would be a really good movie with 2 rewrites. Run through it once, just for dialogue, and then once you realize that you can accomplish this in a tonally mature way, then run it through for story, and you can start to smooth things over.
And it makes me wonder if this film got rushed out, or if this is what he's going for. Like he sees, like, this is the visual he has of the thing behind him. He's like, this is a goofy ass movie. We might as well have a goofy ass script too. That is just classic B movie. Nothing makes sense. The acting's going to be bad. And then we're going to have really awesome action sequences and gore fest and just craziness at the end.
Yeah.
And that's what you got.
When you were describing just the breaks that the mom gets, I mean, I don't know if I'm sure it was more or less like going for like how crazy this movie is, but like you were describing it and I was like, that sounds like it should technically be somewhat entertaining. Like, give this thing up for adoption and then it comes back and like tries to get revenge. Like, okay, there is some weight to like some goodness in there. Like there's a plot in there. And then I agree with you. This probably had somewhat of a rushed production and just kind of just slapped a it's done sticker on the script, and then they just kind of mailed it out.
Yeah.
So it's not completely bad, but there are definitely some things that needed to be fixed. And but I don't know. It's not 100% clear if this is what Wan was going for. Just no idea.
If it weren't like, I don't know, I haven't seen anything from James Wan so far that makes me think that he's all a big fan of throwing back to 80s cheese. Like everything that he's done so far, and I think that's probably my biggest disappointment from it. And the reason I couldn't get into it is because it's from the guy who should be doing better than this at this point. If this were like, if this had come out and it was like Blumhouse, I'd be like, oh, here we go, and then I'd probably be like, it's dumb fun. But it's like not Blumhouse. It's James Wan. If it were A24, I probably would have given it an 8 out of 10 just for the studio. But
if it were A24, this would be so much slower.
If this is A24, you'd be like, and there was a guy wearing like a sheep's mask, you'd be like, all right, 9 out of 10. We're good.
Twice as good, half as slow. Twice as slow, half as good.
Yes, exactly. So if this were A24, I would definitely be like, yo, this is weird. This is weird. I don't even know if it's good weird. It's just weird. That's where I say.
I was telling Alex, I'm like, at the end of this movie, she's like, all right, I locked the Gabriel away in my brain. Everybody's safe. Everyone's alive. And I'm like, yeah, but you just murdered like,
Oh yeah.
you just murdered like 35 people. So you going to jail, girl. You going somewhere. You're going to the hospital. You ain't being free.
At least the back of her head is gonna be put in jail.
They'll just have a cell where it's just she can just lean back into it, but like do her job, her desk job. But the thing's in jail.
Yeah, and then give her a TV and everything.
And him a TV. So one in front of her and one behind.
No, maybe it's like it's just a big like a cushion on the wall that's the shape of her head, and she just puts it back there to suffocate it.
No, I bring up this wearing this jacket inside out, which is really stupid on purpose though, because I love thinking through the idea that this thing cares so much about his cool appearance that he's got to like flip over his jacket every time he transitions.
I'm a cool tumor.
Like
we've
like
got to cut out the cancer.
He's like it's like Gabriel watched The Crow and he was like, that's my visual style. Oh, I'm still in a skull. Hang on.
Yes, that's what I know I was thinking of something like that before, and yeah, it was The Crow. That was it. I knew I was thinking something else. So, but this was a silly movie, and
And we didn't even talk about the fact that he goes out of his way to make his own signature weapon.
Oh yeah.
We already approached weird editing, cheesiness, and the Where's My Mind. So I thought that was kind of covered in those, because that was another one of those really like intense, like da-na-na-na, and he's like shaving down the medical, which is definitely not a real medical trophy. It was just a weapon, and they designed some stuff to make it look like a symbol. Took those off so they could be a weapon again.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that does not look. I mean, it kind of looks like, what is it, the double helix thing for medical symbols, and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely pushed into, so I can use this later.
You know what else I think would have made this film good? Not having that opening scene. Matt, you were talking about how predictable it is. It's called Malignant. Your opening scene's in a hospital. You don't see what it is. Once you get like 30 minutes into this film, if you haven't figured it out, you're not paying attention. And I mean, I figured out like enough from the pieces that it was going to be something like that. You obviously get like a nice surprise, but can you imagine what you'd be like if you just went into this expecting that ghost story from the trailer, and it just started with a ghost story and not like a B movie scene from a hospital, and you just had to like, you took itself seriously, and you're like, why are these cops such bad actors? And then you really just kind of devolve into an 80s movie. Probably significantly easier.
I think, well, I don't know. I feel like they almost had to plant that scene there just so when they do their scene, it's like, it makes more, like if you had that scene like without the beginning, you'd be like, what the you literally would not know. So I think it's there just to like ease you into that scene that's like an hour into the movie.
That's fair, but here's my counter argument. Can you imagine if From Dusk Till Dawn opened in a horror movie scene?
True.
I see what you mean though. That also, I don't know, that scene also sets that ridiculous tone.
Yeah.
Then you spend the next 40 minutes not approaching that tone again, except for the cops who belong in like 90s television.
You mean Detective Kakawa?
Cool name wasted on.
Is it though?
No, I think it's funny.
It's definitely a name.
Really hard to come up with names for people, and they're like, "We've got to come up with a name that no other movie has," and I'm like, "You really don't."
just go with like Smith, Rodriguez. Just do something. Jones.
Yeah, cop names. There's a reason those people all become cops. Just like if you've got a name.
O'Hara.
I need to totally make you have a great name because you're totally important.
Yeah, and then they don't even contribute. Like they do nothing for the actual plot by the end of the film.
Yes.
Also, how did Gabriel call her on the phone? Because she's sitting with the cops, and then they get a phone call, and it's him. She like,
I didn't even think of that.
Answer the phone, guys. Let me just put this.
He's using his mental powers through broadcasting and I guess cellular data to also communicate.
No, right.
He ate all those babies. He's powerful now.
That's a great question. Didn't even think about that. That is
I think it should have just been not attached to her.
Maybe he just pre-recorded
like
it.
Like it lived, and we get a really weird Basket Case remake, and it's just this weird thing running around and killing people, and it's still stupid and it's still shocking, but we don't have to laugh at it. It doesn't look like the fight scenes can still be really cool. Like, I'm so mixed on those fight scenes because they're so well shot and choreographed. And it is so stupid to imagine somebody with arms upside down, like
Mhm.
fighting people really, really well and like punching through people backwards. And I'm like, it's just the stupidest thing to watch. And it's really well done. And it hurts that the concept works against the execution so well. Sometimes. And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the execution, like the music and the editing, is just so bad that the
Yes.
concept is being pulled away from.
All very good points.
I think there's just ways to make this good, and they just were like, ah, we're done. Like Alex, you said they got like a one take of her screaming, and they were like, that's good. It feels like they didn't take a second take with anything.
Yeah. It was kind of like how we talked about Old, and it's like they just felt like they'd gotten that script that day or that scene, like they had just read like 5 minutes beforehand, and they're like, okay, we need you to scream at like this moment.
Yeah.
Also,
any movie that has their actor or actress scream no gets like a point off. Nobody screams no. Even in great movies, it's still the silliest thing.
I
about Tombstone.
I subconsciously share that same opinion. I've greater movies, I can't think of one where it does it and it's still a really good film and I just kind of give it a pass. But I also think that I don't ever think nobody just screams out no. They just go ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
Tombstone.
Ah! Yeah.
Tombstone, he does it twice. He does the double
yeah.
no, and it's the cheesiest thing because it's in slow motion. And it's
yeah.
I do remember the movie.
Yeah.
Because he's Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell can do it apparently, but nobody else can. Darth Vader definitely can't do it.
No.
And that's the worst part of that movie.
So
well, that's a great movie for the record.
It's a great fight scene for the record.
But anyway, that was Malignant, and I think we got pretty much everything out of that movie we could.
I think final verdict. Redbox if you want like a really, really stupid horror movie, but you're okay with it. Like if you want like a really silly. That's a good word for it. I think it's silly. If you find that acceptable, you'll probably enjoy the movie.
Yes.
But is it a good movie?
No.
But is it a fun movie?
It's better than. I probably need to bump it up because I think it's better than 2 hours and 10 minutes of Fast and Furious.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder when it comes to this. Like if you find it silly and enjoy it, then hats off to you. But yes, I agree. Yeah, it's a $1 Redbox rental at best.
Literally, James Wan just is like, I have this idea. What if there's somebody behind somebody's skull and the skull opens up and their face is there and they're evil and then they kill by walking backwards because that's where the face is. How awesome would that be? And they're like, yeah, that I guess that's awesome.
All those other writers just okay.
Yeah.
Whatever Ryan, you say.
Would you have respected it? I have a feeling you're going to say no. Would you have respected it a little bit more if he took over her, like the consciousness and whatever, and he's going off and killing people, but it's like it's still in the correct like direction, like her facing forward, but like with her face like covered up, so then you can obviously tell that it's not like really her taking on consciousness, and she still kills people. Would you respect it anymore?
Yeah, okay. I think that goes into like I you know what? I probably do need to bump it up to a 3 because there's some real creativity and ingenuity going into the way they choreograph everything in this movie. Not just action when you think of choreography, but the way they block the film and the chase sequences and the thing running away. There's some well done sequences. When you know what? I'll give it a point back for the one scene where he jumps down when he's being chased by the cop in the very Seven homage, and he jumps on the scaffolding and he catches himself, but his arm backwards, and I was like, that's the first time I noticed it. I was like, that's there's some really well done things, but I think it really gets, the more you do with it, the less impactful it becomes, to the point where I think it's just ridiculous.
Right.
And I mean, like, yeah, I think it probably would be easier to take seriously if it just didn't make so many of those creative choices. That said, those creative choices are the things I think that probably make it enjoyable for people who can get past those silly things. So I think it's, what do you want from a movie? Do you want to take it seriously and sacrifice the creativity for it or not? Because I think when you look back on like The Conjuring and the first Insidious movie, and like they're pretty safe movies. They're good, and the way they do their filmmaking definitely pushes the genre forward. But they don't take a lot of risks as far as what they're willing to experiment with, except for the way they do scares and tension and cinematography. And so you don't get like really, really bold choices throughout. And they're probably better movies for it. Whereas you see like even some of the spin-offs, like Matt, you and I were talking about Annabelle Comes Home like a couple weeks ago. There's some bold choices in the structure of that movie. I'm not sure they work, but it makes it more fun. So I don't.
Also
I
a fun movie.
Yeah, it is. I agree with that. It's much more fun than this one. Yeah, I think it's just what are you willing to do with your horror film, and it's definitely not as typically bad as everything that comes out of Blumhouse, because it's like you get this weird polished film with all these teenagers, and then social media is making them die or whatever, and then you can call every beat from the next hour and a half of that runtime. But there's also just nothing that I don't know. Nothing. James Wan typically just takes his stuff seriously, and I missed that. So I think if you just maybe had cut back on some of those creative choices, you probably would have been able to have a more solid narrative.
Yeah, I think that's all pretty fair. I would say, like, it just what kind of what side of the coin do you just end up lying on?
Yeah,
from this one. So I agree with you, and then at the same time, I'm like, I had some type of amusement.
Yeah.
So.
That being said, there are really bold choices that can save a movie like this halfway through. If you look at like Kristen Stewart's film Underwater, like it's kind of a generic thriller for the first half of the movie, and you're like, oh, we need something to change this movie. Cthulhu. And you just throw it out there, and you're like, yeah, it works. So there are movies that I think can get just weirder and more nonsensical with those creative choices. I just don't think this was one of them.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, that was Malignant in all of its glory. Clint was mentioning about next week, what we were thinking about doing. Theatrically, obviously, we've already said that we're not looking that forward to Cry Macho. Cry Macho and Cop Shop are the two that at least our location is getting. I don't know if there's any other big theatrical release or if there's a big streaming option that we have. The floor is yet again open, so I'm cool with anything.
Netflix's Kate came out last weekend. Got okay reviews. I was planning on watching it this week. Cop Shop is opening in theaters. Eyes of Tammy Faye with Jessica Chastain is apparently opening this weekend. Our AMC has like 22 screens and doesn't have it. I keep seeing ads that's like opening at Regal, and I'm like, does Regal own this movie? I don't know why we don't have it, but our two Regals aren't actual Regals, so I can't see that movie if it's actually opening this weekend. And I was planning on watching Cry Macho on HBO, so I'd be okay with Cry Macho because it's the bigger one. But I was also we got tickets to see Cop Shop tomorrow night because it's not 91-year-old Clint Eastwood.
I will most likely be watching Cry Macho and Cop Shop just because we have them. And
no, it looks like Eyes of Tammy Faye is opening at all theaters on Friday around here anyway.
Freaking what? Why don't we have it?
Is it?
I don't understand.
Is it also because? Oh no, never mind. It said HBO First Look. I was like, is it also on HBO Max? But what was I? What came out last week that our location didn't get was Card Counter. So I may venture off to. I mean, I'm not saying that as a collective. I say I'll probably at some point run on down the AMC and go watch that. Because I do want to see that. I Oscar Isaac, pretty decent guy. I haven't read any reviews, so maybe come next week we'll find out that I didn't do that. But so I'm gonna be watching any of those. So it sounds like I know Clint's like, I don't want to watch Cry Macho, so maybe we can coax him into watching Cop Shop. I feel like Cop Shop, and then we'll just see
we need to get Clint a happy-go-lucky film.
Happy-go-lucky film. We either need to find the happiest of happy films, or we need to find a Debbie Downer. So okay. Yeah, what's up, Ryan?
RAMC got the last Kendrick Brothers film, or the latest Kendrick Brothers Christian film, and not Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Huh.
So
Interesting choices on the buyer for that one. Okay, but for right now, and we'll leave it kind of open, loosey goosey for the week going in. But we'll say for now, Cop Shop is what we'll review during next week, and we'll hopefully have Clint back, and we'll go from there. So, anything else we'd like to mention on this meeting today, gents?
we're on all the listening things, so you can
Yes,
listen to us instead of watching us, because we're not that exciting to watch after 5 minutes.
that's right.
So-
Yeah.
I've been staring at you guys for like an hour or something, and I'm bored. I'm just kidding.
It's more like 2 hours right now, man.
No, a bunch of us white guys with glasses.
Yep, all the
And-
same glasses now.
All
Yeah.
of the same.
I know,
I
right?
mean, mine are like
Because-
tortoiseshell though.
Well, we're actually all the same person, and one of us is going around killing people, and the others we don't know it. And this doesn't make any sense.
I always
but it's
thought the
really-
back of
That's not even the front of Ryan's face. That's the
Nope.
back of his head that you're seeing right now.
That's right. I'm the other side.
My hair is actually just kind of sticking up, but you can't see it.
Yeah. You have a back of the neck beard.
Yeah.
That is my face beard. But yes, as Ryan was mentioning, we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify. We do our YouTube, and yeah, in case you want to just not look at our weird faces anymore,
Yep.
you can listen to our weird faces. So, on that note, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.